There is an activity that you can associate to every data point in the market.
You don't have to rise or fall with the market. You rise or fall based on the strength of your system, your actions, your mindset.
How do you monetize a database? You call it. That's it.
You can either control your market or be controlled by the market. The choice is yours.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Level Up Podcast with myself, Greg Harrelson. This is where I focus on taking you from agent to entrepreneur. As you know, I have a passion for developing agents. And on today's episode, I'm going to share another quick strategy on how you can increase your production. I'm going to be real, so you be ready. Let's level up.
Welcome, everybody. We really appreciate you joining us today. You know, Abe and I, we're practitioners. In other words, we're still selling real estate, at a high level. So we know how valuable time is. And I always like to just, remind you that I'm very grateful and Abe's very grateful for the time that you're investing in us right now. We'll do everything we can today to deliver as much value as we can to help you further your career. So Abe and I decided to do a webinar around future-proofing your business. And it's kind of like how to, as you can see on my picture here, is how to prevent the market from impacting your market. And I'm going to start off today kind of talking a little bit about the difference between the market and your market, because I think if we can all grasp that concept and understand the distinction between those two things, then we start to realize how lucky we are to be in real estate. When I look at the market, I think about, when the market's great, oh yeah, I'm celebrating the market's so good. When the market's bad, I'm blaming the market. It's amazing. Real estate agents take credit for their success in a hot market, but they give credit for their failures in a down market. They give credit to the market. They blame the market. Well, the market's not that good, so we're not really selling as much. But when the market's really good, we're not saying, well, we're selling so much because the market's so good. No, in the hot market, we say we're selling a lot because I'm so good. In a down market, we're like, man, just not really selling a lot. I mean, the market's bad. It's interesting. You cannot take credit in a hot market and give credit in a down market. You have to decide, are you going to take credit or give credit? In whatever you decide, do it in both markets. It was that thought, or it was that kind of concept that had me thinking about there's a difference in the market and my market. So I'm going to use my market and your market interchangeably today. But as Abe said just a minute ago before I hit the recording, we got a lot of content to get through. And so we're going to get through it. The market. Let me just share with you the market. Like, what's going on in your local MLS? What's going on in your city? What's going on in your market? I mean, in the market that you service. How many listings are taken monthly? Right now, you might be thinking, well, there's a lot of listings coming on, but none of them are selling. Okay, that's the market. You might say in the market, wherever you're working, that the average days on the market's increasing. There's pendings, there's sales, but the fall through ratio is like 20% now. It used to be 13. Now it's like hard to keep deals together. Closings are down. Maybe closings are up. That's the market. Average sales price. That's the market. Compensation. How much are people offering, to a buyer's agent for buyer agent compensation? How much are listing agents charging? That's the market. Recession, the market. Inflation, the market. Tariffs, the market. Uncertainty, the market. U.S. economy, the market. But in every scenario, there are agents where their market is well above the market, and there's agents where their market is well below the market. So you're either performing at the market, you're outperforming the market on the upside, or you're underperforming the market on the downside. Hey, Abe, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I do. I want to take care of one thing because otherwise it's going to be an elephant in the room. So we're going to talk about the market and then your market and the distinction between the two and how you can have based on what you do will determine your outcome and production. But I don't want you to think that we're saying bury your head in the sand and it doesn't matter what's happening out there, right? Because I know a lot of you guys out there are thinking, well, look, Abe and Greg, look, the market is tough. Like, if you know my market, inventory just keeps growing every single month and nothing's spending. Look, we know that. We know that in 2024, there was only 4,060,000 homes sold nationwide, according to NAR. 4,060,000 in 2024. So that's the worst year that we've had in real estate since 1995. We know that. Okay, that's even worse than 2008 when we had the real estate bubble burst. I think that year we did like 4.11 million. So we know that. Okay, but what do we always tell our agents in our office? What do we tell agents on our team? What do we tell agents in our coaching program, Agent Success Academy? We're not the type of agents to focus on the market, but we have to know and understand the market because that's going to help us understand and engage what's happening out there. It's good to know what the inventory is doing. It's good to know if home prices are going up or going down. It's good to know the days on the market in the market. You have to know what's happening. So we know it, we study it, but what we don't do is we don't focus on it.
Yeah.
Right. So you get that information, you know it, you become the market expert, you have the knowledge, and you just bank it. And what we focus on is our market. And then Greg's going to tell you what we mean by our market.
That's great, Abe. So as you're talking, I am immediately thinking, okay, you give me some of this data. So when I see this data, I don't like, oh my gosh, it's terrible. It's like immediately I say, oh, I know how to outperform this market. Just out contact my competition. It's simple. Oh, data like that? Oh, if you say, oh gosh, days on the market's going up. I said, oh, days on the market's going up. Oh, I guess I just need a few more price reductions. There is an activity that you can associate to every data point in the market, period. It does not matter. Average price is going down. Oh gosh, I'm losing income because average price is going down. Then do two more transactions. Two more transactions pretty much covers up any decrease in your your earned income because of depreciation. Nobody's depreciating that fast. So like every data point that Abe says, we need to know it, but I need to know it so I know, okay, which activity do I apply based on the market? So when we talk about your market, so I'm going to go into that. Our market, your market, my market. Those are three ways to say it. That's not the market. So this is the distinction, your market. Well, here's your market. It's how many listings you're taking monthly. That's your market. How many pendings do you have? That's your market. How many closings do you have? That's your market. What's your days on the market? That's your market. So when you take Abe's suggestion of knowing the market, then what we're doing is we're going to look at how do we outperform in each one of those numbers, each one of the data points. How do we outperform? Like you could take total listings let's just say you take total listings in your market or in the market, in the market. You then say, what's the total pendings in the market? So Abe, do you know what that is for our market? So as in Myrtle Beach market, like roughly what the percent is? You probably know it for like homes or condos. Do you know the blended average?
I don't know the blended average. For single family home resales, it's about 22% right now, maybe 24%. For condos, oceanfront condos, it's 12%.
Okay, good.
Overall, it's about 21% all condos.
Okay.
That's pending. That's the absorption rate. Yeah.
So the market, what Abe just said is the market means that there's about a 22% absorption rate, meaning the difference or the ratio between the number of pendings compared to the number of active listings in the marketplace. Okay, so let's just use 22%. Okay, well, now I want to talk about my market. My market, my goal is to have more than 22% of my active listings under contract. So if I had 50 listings under contract, I'm going to say and this is by the way, my goal. My goal is to have a minimum of 30% of my active inventory to be pending. So if I have 50 listings, 30% of that is 15. I should have 15 pendings. Compared to the market is 22%. The condo market's 12%. So I can look at my condo listings and I want my condo listings to be at 30% pending. If you have a 30%, then you're turning your inventory. I'm not saying 30% that closes. You're probably thinking, oh man, 70% of his stuff is not selling. I didn't say that. That's a different ratio. I said 30% pending at all times. The market's 22% blended. The condo market's 12. Mine 30, guess what I'm doing? I'm outperforming in that one metrics. If I look at average days on the market is 92 days. I want my average days on the market to be 75 days. How do I manipulate that? How do I control that? By the number of price reductions that I do. So the market is important to know, as Abe said, but that is not my market. Now I'm going to set these goals for each one of these metrics, and I'm going to work on creating the systems, the talk tracks, all the things that are necessary. Abe, do you think I'm making sense out of this? Is there anything?
100%. And knowing that information, Greg, and instead of focusing on it, like for example, oceanfront condos, only 12% of oceanfront condos are under contract right now. So you know what that means? That means 88% of condos out there in the market right now are not selling. So if I'm talking to an oceanfront condo owner, that's the conversation I'm having with them. I have a look. Do you want to be in the 12%? Do you want to be the 88%? And it's going to be a function of what you price it at. So now I'm using that information, that knowledge, but creating my own market, which is going to be listings that are sellable in this type of market because of that information.
Yeah, fantastic. Exactly. Okay, good. So, well, let's continue. So, there's a very important distinction. If you think about it, what I'm really talking is about the difference of the versus my. And in every market in history that I've ever been in, real estate agents, there's been real estate agents that have outperformed and underperformed, just as I said a moment ago, and those that are flat, that are just mirroring the market. And that's a choice. That's a choice. Unfortunately, most agents don't know it's a choice. They don't function as if they've chosen their results. They function today as they're victims of it. I love this market because it's this market that you can gain market share. Very few of us, by the way, I won't say none because somebody will put in the chat, well, I did. Very few of us around the country actually gained and captured more market share in the pandemic year. In the big years, the hot booming markets, we did not capture more market share. That's different. You may have done more deals, but there were thousands more agents. So you could do more deals, but not capture market share. And capture market share is what we really should be going for. Individual market share. What is your personal market share of your market? It might be 0.002. Well, good. Well, let's make it 0.1. But you won't do that in a hot market. So we're all waiting around the hot market for our business to grow. No, you wait around for this market for your business to grow. That's why we should love this market. I've been asked a lot, well, Greg, what kind of market is it? You think it's a buyer's market or you think it's a seller's market? Here's my answer. This is a top agents market. We're talking on this webinar, we're talking about our business. We're not talking about the business of the buyers and how they're doing and what they're buying, the sellers and how much they're selling it for and how fast they're selling it. That's conversations for buyers and sellers. We are professional to professional. We are talking about what market are we in? We are in a top agents market, period. This is the market where top agents are created. Or if you're not a top agent, yes, you can be a top agent in this market. And when you become a top agent in this market, you become a top agent for years. The top agents that are homegrown, that are grown out of the hot markets, those are the top agents that right now, have you seen? Go check them. Go check their numbers in the MLS. Don't check what they say on social media. Check their numbers in the MLS. They're down 20% or more. The top agents that were built out of a hot market are down 20% or more. The top agents that came into the business in a down market, or the ones that were built from a top market, they started in a hot market, they're down 20%. The ones that started in a down market, the Abes and Gregs of the world, we're still here. We're still growing. It's a top agents market. Abe?
Yeah, this is the kind of market where the top 100 agents or teams in your market, that board gets reshuffled.
Yes.
So go back and look 3 or 4 years ago who the top 100 were, and then look at the end of this year who the top 100 are going to be. Go back if you're not sold yet, just do some research, put it in Chat GPT, wherever. Look and see what corporations were formed during recessions. Which multimillionaires and billionaires created most of their wealth during recessions. The market does not have to dictate your business, your production. Okay, you don't have to rise or fall with the market. You rise or fall based on the strength of your system, your actions, your mindset, whether you show up every single day. So we're talking today about future-proofing your business, and that's about building something strong, building something that's repeatable, right? That you're so skilled and so advanced in what you do that no matter what the market conditions are, it's not going to matter. It's not going to touch you. Okay, so your production, your success is not necessarily tied to what NAR is telling you that I'm going to be the total number of sales this year. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't matter how many homes in your market actually sell. It's how many you want to sell. It's going to be 100% tied to how many conversations with buyers and sellers are you going to have. That's it.
Yeah, that's just put a stamp on that, right? Exclamation point. That's really what it is. Hey, look, I'm going to go into, right now I want to move into like that. How do we outperform any market? So I'm going to talk about like, okay, the process of outperforming a market. And I do want you to know, Abe and I, and you all, just about everybody knows this, okay? But not everybody's involved. Abe and I do coach. We have a group coaching call every week on Tuesday. The program's called Agent Success Academy. Yes, we want you to be part of our coaching call. Of course we do. But you coming to this webinar is absolutely there's no obligation for you to do it. But we want you to be involved. So please check us out. And what I'm going to be focusing on over the next month, maybe 6 weeks. I haven't decided. Or Abe and I haven't decided. We're going to be talking about doubling your listings. Like, what do you got to do to double your listings? What do you got to do? And what's the point? Really, the point of the next 4 to 6 weeks of coaching is going to be how do you capture more market share? Doubling your listings is going to be one way. So it's going to be part of what we're going to be talking about. But it's going to be, I want to talk about, Abe says the top 100 is going to shift. You know why? Because we're going to shift it. That's why. Because the agents in our office are going to start entering into that category now. And they're going to take the positions of other people that have been holding it for a while, but they're still complaining about the market. And we're going to start talking about creating my market. So please join us. So future-proofing your business. There's different components or elements to to future proofing and outperforming any market. And I would be crazy to not say it really, there's three real critical words that we can talk about. And that is attitude, approach, and expectations. And it really fits with my market versus the market. Your attitude. What is your attitude about the market? Do you see average days on the market being the advantage you've been waiting on in your business? Do you see that a lot of listings and inventories piling up, but the number of pendings are not keeping up? Do you see that as a disadvantage or an advantage? Do you see prices being stagnant, disadvantage or advantage? Do you see discounting and incentives because through developers, and you're trying to sell a home in a resale home in a development, and you're complaining about what the developers do? Do you see that as a disadvantage, or do you see that as an advantage? Because every one of those things, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I've been waiting for. Is that your attitude? Because that's my attitude. Been waiting for this. Approach. What is your approach? Does everybody in your life know exactly what you're going to be doing between 8 and 11 tomorrow? Does your friends know what you're going to be doing at 9 o'clock tomorrow on a Thursday? My friends know what I'm going to be doing. And they know I'm going to be doing it because I have an approach. I approach this business in a certain way, and I'm extremely consistent with it. And then you got expectations. What's your expectations? Do you expect when you call an expired that they're going to say, I'm going with another agent? I hope they say that to me. Oh, really? Well, do you want to sell? Well, yes, I want to sell. Okay, well, why didn't it sell before? Or are you afraid that that's what they're going to say? Well, all the expires, they're just mad because like they're not getting any showings, and they're, it's really, they're overpriced. Do you expect that every expired in your market is overpriced? Or do you expect that it's possible that they could be underinformed? See, I actually believe most overpriced listings are not because of the seller. It's because of the agent who listed it. They didn't inform the seller properly. And if a seller's not informed properly, they default to whatever they want for the property. But if they're informed properly, they don't default to what they want. They default to what needs to happen. We've got to just take a deep breath. We got to breathe for a moment. Check your attitude. Check on your approach. Check on your expectations. Take a deep breath. Believe that this is a top agent's market and go to battle. That's where we are right now.
What you just said about overpricing a home, I think that was gold, right? Because people aren't calling you and hiring you to just list a home. They're calling you and hiring you to sell their home. So you have to fight on that price. You have to educate them on the market and what's going on. And then together come with a price that makes the home sellable. So this part of it to me is always like the most important thing in our business, the mental side of it, right? The attitude, the approach. So it starts with like by now, I hope you got it, but like you really have to get that regardless of what's happening in the market, should not necessarily relate to what your production income is going to be. Like there's a separation there if you want it to be, right? I was trying to think of an analogy earlier today, and it didn't come to me till right before this coaching call of the market and our market. And I thought about a sailboat, right? I'm not a water guy. I'm not a boater. So any of you out there that are like real sailboat enthusiasts, don't like kind of forgive me a little bit if I'm not spot on this, but like a sailboat. If it's windy, a lot of current, your sail is down, you're going to be floating with the water, and with the wind, it's going to take you wherever it goes, right? So that's the market. So if you're an agent, doing what you've been doing. Now all of a sudden the winds are against you and the market's soft. You're just gonna float with it. Market's down 30%, you're gonna be down 30%. Or you can lift the sail, point the boat or angle it a certain way, and then be able to use the wind to your advantage and actually go in any direction that you want. So that's the option that you have. We know dozens and dozens of agents in our office, in our markets, in the country that are having the best years they've ever had the last 2 or 3 years. Like, how is that even possible? Because there is a separation between the market and what they chose their market to be. So when it comes to mindset, it's got to be razor sharp. You got to be on point day in and day out. You have to show up with not just positive thinking. Yeah, positive thinking is great, but it's got to be productive thinking. You have to show up, taking action, productive action. What can I do today in this market to generate business? If only 12% of homes are selling or condos are selling right now, I have to make sure that every condo listing I take is priced super aggressive in order to get it sold. We know that no matter what the market is, even back when in 2021, when the market was great, we know time after time, massive action will always equal massive results. Like, that's a fail-proof system, like no matter what market you're in. We know that time after time, the agents that show up and control the narrative going on in here between the ears and actually take productive action are always going to win no matter what the market is doing.
That's so true. Massive action always equals massive results. So what I just kind of shared there and Abe was talking about there was, remember I said there's a few different components or elements to outperforming a market, to gaining market share. And that was a little bit more of the mental side. Then we got the tactical side. Okay. Then there's mental, there's tactical. I've got really mental, tactical, strategical, and intentional. Those are, like, to me, the 4 elements is what we're discussing today. Tactical. Like, you know what's missing with the agents that are slipping? Daily lead generation. I look at top agents right now, or the top agents of the past. They lost the habit. Remember, strong markets make weak agents. You've probably seen people posting stuff like that in the past. It's a nice little saying. Strong agents make weak agents. Strong markets make weak agents. And so what we got is you got strong agents that are in a strong market that lost their habit. Nobody's doing it. And I saw somebody post this the other day, and I thought it was hilarious and spot on. Another coach, and he was ranting in his Facebook post about how funny it was that all of these coaches and all of these top team leaders and company leaders in the last few years, over the time when market was really good, we're talking about all these creative things that they're doing, and you don't have to prospect, get 10 listings without making any calls. They were all selling all this crap. You know what they're doing right now? Guess what they're doing? You know what? Old school tactics are working. Old school? There's nothing old school with lead generation. Lead generation is always new school. There's only one school in this market. There's only one school. There's only been one school. And here's the tell. The ones that called it old school, now to save face, they're saying, you know what? Old school. We got to go old school. As if, like, that's brilliant. Hey, if somebody's saying that you need to go and like, hey, this stuff's working now, you run from them. It never stopped working. So tactical, daily lead generation, you need to start calling the people that you've been resisting calling. You just need to start calling the people you've been resisting calling. Daily follow-up. How about start following up with the people that you think that you'll just wait till tomorrow to follow up with because you don't want to overcall them? I've said this years ago. I've never lost business because I followed up too much, but I've lost plenty of business because I followed up too little. And we're following up too little right now. Following up way too little. Weekly price reductions. You know what? We got to make price reductions with the inventory that we have. That's our duty. We got to stop thinking that they're going to get mad at us because we tell them what the current market is. How are they going to get mad at you for telling them what the current market is for their property? Oh, I know how. If in the listing presentation you didn't follow our coaching and you didn't present price correctly, then you probably told them, well, I think you should price it at this. Abe and I are never going to tell anybody what we think they should price it at because we're not going to take ownership of the price. Because then later on, if we go for a price reduction, they're going to say, well, you're the one that suggested it. We're not suggesting anything. We're interpreters. We're not the market. We're the interpreters of the market. We look at the market, we interpret the market, and we tell them what the market suggests. We don't take ownership. So it's not our fault when the market shifts. It's not our fault what the market says. We're just the messenger. So we're not afraid to go for price reductions because we're not the market. We're not to be blamed for what's going on. That's tactics. Updating active clients. It's very important to communicate with your active clients because they're sitting on the market longer. The buyers are taking longer. If you've got buyers that you're working and it's taking longer for them to convert, you better stay in touch with them because they're on the internet and they're going to jump to another agent. If you've got active sellers that staying on the market longer, you got to pick up the pace on how much you're communicating with them, or they're not going to sign an extension, or they're not going to do a reduction, and they're just going to expire. If you actually communicate with them consistently, they will extend the listing, give you more time, and they're more likely to agree to price reductions. This is tactics that we got to follow up. We got to focus on. Mental, attitude, approach, and expectations. Tactics, daily lead generation, daily follow-up, price reductions, and keeping our active clients up to date so they will agree on extending or reducing when we approach them. Abe, why don't you go ahead and
Yeah, great
add
stuff.
some thoughts to it?
Yeah. Especially on the price reductions. Yeah, we never take ownership of the price. Well, all we're doing is giving the seller a range of what is sellable in that market at that time for their property. They just arrange and then they choose it, right? So going back, the market changes, that range changes. So going back and having a conversation with them, look, this is what the market has done. It's time to change. It's never our fault, right? We're just giving them the information. But the key part of this is like the daily generation, like that's the bread and butter of what we do. If you don't do this every single day, there's almost no chance at all of doing any decent production, right? But if you're going to do it, and you should, the key thing I want to go back to is productive action. Like just showing up to the office doesn't cut it. I can see two agents show up to the office, work for 3 hours, and quote unquote lead gen. One person could talk to 8 people. The other person could talk to 30 people. So just showing up doesn't cut it. Spending time in there just doesn't cut it. You have to be intentional and do productive action. Okay. You have to, we did this with some coaching clients of ours. We tested this for 2 months. We had them turn off their cell phones during 8 to 11 when they generate. A 30 to a 40% increase in production. Something as simple as turning off your cell phone. So minimize distraction. If you're going to delete gen for 3 hours, don't bullshit yourself. Be there for 3 hours, turn off the cell phone, turn off the emails, turn off all distractions, and focus only on lead gen. We did a coaching call yesterday in our Agent Success Academy about this particular topic. It's how much time you should spend on lead gen right now, and follow-up, and price reductions, all that stuff. So whatever you're going to be doing at the time, whatever time you block out, Focus on that and only that. Only productive actions. Break your day up into time blocks. You have to have a block for lead gen. We suggest normally 3 hours. Now we're suggesting 5 to 6 hours, right? If you want to be a top producer, or if you've been a top producer and want to stay a top producer, block that in your calendar. And then when it's time for lead gen, do nothing at all but lead gen. Have a block of time for your follow-ups, or what I call closing time. This is the time where anyone that's close to signing, you get them signed. Anyone that's close to an appointment, you get them to an appointment. Anyone that needs to be pushed a little bit further down the line, you push them a little bit further down the line. It's advancing the ball on the leads that have showed interest. You need to have a block of time for that and only that. And then, of course, you got to do servicing, right? So block out an hour a day or whatever it is that you have to return your phone calls, you have to return emails, reply to text messages, things like that. Block out that time. But you have to be so disciplined, especially in this kind of market, that you don't let them bleed into each other.
Yeah.
Put one hat on at a time. Don't try to wear two hats. If it's lead gen time, focus on that. If it's follow-up time, focus on that. If it's servicing time, then focus on that.
Yeah. So yeah, like don't commingle, right? Like don't bleed each other. I like that. I just Andrew just caught my attention with a little bit of a post there. He said, "Did I just hear Abe say 5 to 6 hours?" So just so because he did say that, right? And here's what we're thinking, though. You got to understand, and I don't know what Andrew's feeling right now. You could either feel like, oh yes, I can't wait to get started, or it could be like, holy crap, I don't know if I can commit to that. Whatever you're feeling is totally cool, but just know this. If I'm a gold miner and I just slammed my damn axe into some rock at the bottom of the riverbed, and I just said, holy shit, I just struck gold, my ass ain't going home. I'm doubling down, and I'm going to dig for hours and put all that damn gold in my damn pan. And that's what we're saying. So I don't want you to hear Abe's like, things are tough and you're just going to have to work harder. And that's not the message Abe is sending. That's not the message Abe and I are. That's not the closed door, behind the doors conversation Abe and I are having. Our conversation is, holy crap, we were just given a gift. There is gold sitting here right in front of us. Let's double down so we can collect more of it. So I just want to make sure, Abe, because I know what you mean. And Andrew, thank you for putting that little comment in there, because you did inspire and trigger that thought. I don't know if that's the right message for you, but I just wanted you to know that I really appreciate that you putting that into the feed. I'm going to move on. Okay, so we've got mental, we got tactical, then we got strategical. And strategical, for me, what I'm thinking there is, we got to be strategic. Like people are like, wow, man, I wish I had a database. Yes, you know what? But don't build your database. Build it. But if you have one, monetize it. How do you monetize a database? You call it. That's it. You build a database and you monetize it. We're going to give you a text that I sent out yesterday. Well, today would be the third day. So the last 2 days, I came up with a text and we're going to give it to you. It's nothing magic. It's just the dang text that I thought of that day. So don't anticipate there's going to be some masterful art piece coming your way. And the only thing artful is that, that we sent it out to about probably 500 people in two days. And these were old seller leads to our database. And I would say, without calculating today and following up with a few people on my team, what the number, I've been following what the most updated number is right now. But I know within the first 2 days, we actually generated around seller leads that were already in our database that we are either researching to present price or we're actually have a physical appointment set in the calendar to go meet them and do a presentation. That's what we're talking about. Strategic. Building a database and monetizing the database by communicating the database. If you got a database, you got to call it. If you got a database, you got to text it. If you got a database, you got to email it. You've got to have more outbound communication going out to your database. Now, I am also not saying go buy a list of people and go spam email it and go spam text it. I'm not saying any of that. Follow all the rules, right? I'm talking about like database, build a database where people are opted in, and then you're going out and you're doubling down on the outbound communication. That's strategical. The next thing is be strategic, build mind share. Like when you're communicating to your database, when you're out there communicating to people, don't feel like you're losing if you don't convert it at that moment. Every conversation, every email they open, every text that they read is you building mind share. And I'm telling you, if you focus on building mind share every day in today's market, when people start thinking of doing something, they think of you because you're occupying more space in their mind. Everyone's chasing market share. If you want market share, chase mind share. And understand there's a compound effect of all of this. And the compound effect leads to momentum. That's why in coaching in the Agent Success Academy, I say I want to focus on this for the next 4 to 6 weeks, is because I want to help you all build momentum, because mind share and momentum combined gives you market share. All right, eh?
Yeah, when I think of this section, Greg, I think basically like you have to have a plan. Like, what's your plan? Are you just showing up and going through the motions? Are you maximizing your return on every minute you spend on the phone, on every single call, on every single lead? So, like one of the things that we coach is, look, we know we make calls every single day, so we know less and less people are picking up their phones. We know that we have to dial a lot of numbers to finally get people on the phone. We know that. Like, we're not blind to this. Like, we're not coaches that used to do this 30 years ago, talking about how we'd call their home at 6 p.m. and everybody picked up. So we know what it's like out there. So the hardest thing is getting people on the phone. So when you finally get them on the phone, you have to maximize your return on them being on the phone. So go through a 4-step process. Ask them if they're selling. If they're not selling, ask them if one of their neighbors is selling, that you can match up with one of these buyer leads that you're getting. That's ask number 2. So now you're asking for a referral. If they say no, ask them for another referral. Who do you know that's looking to buy or sell? That's ask number 3. And then finally, ask number 4, asking for their email address and put them into a database. So now I'm asking if they want to sell. That's one pitch. I'm asking for a referral for a neighbor, another pitch. I'm asking for a buyer or a seller, third pitch, and I'm getting their email. So the chances of me having some sort of success on the call goes from 2%, if it's just like you selling and they say no, we say bye, to somewhere around 75% that I'm going to get something, either an appointment, either a referral, or an email. I'm getting something off of every single call. That's working with a plan, working with intention. When you get their email address, get them into your nurture program. Have something where you're sending out market reports that's actually beneficial to them, where they see value in your information. That goes back to what Greg's saying about mindshare. Like do you want them to be thinking of you every time they think of real estate? That's mindshare. Next is having a digital footprint. Okay, now that they got your market update email, are they seeing you anywhere else? Are they going into Facebook and all of a sudden they see your face pop up, you just sold another home? Are they getting your market update videos? Like that's having a digital footprint. If they Googled your name, they're thinking of selling and they kind of remember you and they Google your name, what comes up? So all these things come together to get you more market share. You can't just snap your finger and get market share. Okay, but by asking 3 or 4 things on the phone to try to get something out of it by having a good nurture program, by having a strong digital footprint. Now, everywhere they turn, they see your name, they see your face. You can't help but get market share. So, all these things have to be put in place to have a strong strategical plan.
That's perfect. Well, we got a lot of content. We got a real tight time to get there. So, Abe, I'm
Next
just
chance.
keep on keeping on, buddy.
We're like halfway through, 14 years.
Intentional. That's my fourth element. Intentional. You got to have intentional conversations. Be intentional. It kind of goes back to attitude, approach, and expectations. What are your expectations for the call? Now listen, please understand, I'm completely aware. This is crazy what I'm getting ready to say, but I expect everybody to say yes to me when I'm calling them. Does everybody say yes? No, absolutely not. But when I pick up the phone, when I dial, I don't think they're not going to answer. No one answers anymore. That's some of our mindsets in our industry. Well, no one picks up the phone as I'm dialing, or you're clicking a button to dial. We're thinking, no one picks it up. No one picks it up. No one picks it up. Eventually, you say that enough. Your subconscious mind says, well, you're an idiot for even making an attempt because no one picks it up. You already know no one's going to pick it up. So if no one's going to pick it up, then are you the idiot for even attempting? So then all of a sudden you make fewer attempts. See, you got to be intentional. You got to understand. You got to be careful at the language. Like when I'm hitting that button, I'm like, ugh, these boys are picking up. And when they pick it up, they're saying yes. And then all of a sudden they don't pick up. No big deal. I say the same thing in my head. They're picking up. Because if you don't have that type of talk, then you're going to quit early. Be very careful about that. But when you're having conversations, I just want to give you some thoughts on the conversation because I want you to be intentional. I want you to, when you're having conversations, ask more open-ended questions. I'm listening to so many calls and people are not asking open-ended questions. I'm monitoring these calls. And one of the things that I monitor is what is their talk time to listen time ratio. Now, I've seen some studies on this recently in the real estate industry, and there's an argument. I'm starting to believe the data that I'm getting, because I'm getting enough of this data, that the good talk to listen ratio is 55% talk, 45% listen. I actually used to think we should be listening, 55% to 60% and talking 40 to 45%. Okay. But now, because I'm looking at data, I'm seeing that it looks like the conversion is better. The sweet spot is 55% talking, 45% listening. You control the conversation with open-ended questions and ask them to go deeper into their answers. So I'm just kind of curious, what has you thinking about selling? I'm just kind of curious, what has you thinking about potentially purchasing and owning property in South Carolina? Well, we have friends. Oh, really? Well, how long have your friends been there? Where did your friends buy? I'm going to go deeper. I'm not going to stop at level one question. I'm going to ask the question and I'm going to go 3 questions deep on where their answer is so they know I care. It's really kind of like the art of curiosity, the skill of curiosity. If you ask one time, it almost sounds like, well, you didn't even really care. If you ask 2 or 3 times deeper about their answer, now all of a sudden they start to feel you care. And how are you getting them to feel that you care? By demonstrating your curiosity. Be intentional about the skill of curiosity. Be an information gatherer versus always wanting to show your value by giving information. You do not show that much value by giving information. You show value by gathering information. Think of this, the doctor. You walk into the doctor, he says, looks at you. Hey, with a head like that, I think we need to do brain surgery. Sorry, Abe, I just had to go there. You said something about your face earlier. So if the doctor says that to Abe, Abe's like, I'm out of here. But if the doctor was to gather information and give information like, hey, well, Abe, tell me this and tell me that and tell me this and tell me that. And then they say, we might need to do surgery. Abe's more more likely to accept what I tell them to do if I've gathered enough information. Because as the doctor's gathering information, you're gaining confidence that whatever they tell you is going to be an informed, intelligent suggestion. Be intentional about being an information gatherer and stop feeding our ego by just giving information, thinking that makes us look good. Look, be intentional. Ask for the appointment 100% of the time. And when you think there's no appointment to be had, that's when you need to ask, because you realize that your growth is going to be when you ask for the appointment, when your drunk monkey in the mind is telling you there's no appointment. That's where the growth is. If you're only going to ask for the appointment when you know there's going to be an appointment, then you're just nothing more than every agent. Any agent could get that business. It's when somebody says, no, I'm not going to sell after they expire. And I keep going and still ask for the appointment. And then every time I do that, maybe every third time that I do that, I actually get an appointment that no one else is on. Be intentional. There is zero reason why each one of you should not be setting a minimum of one appointment every day, period. Period. Minimum standard, one appointment a day. And I've got plenty of agents doing this. This is not, look, I get a little excited here. Believe me, I'm not the hype man, even though I'm a little bit hyper right now because I'm excited to be here. But my intention is not to hype you up. My intention is to wake you up. And I'm serious about that. Don't miss this market. It's a top agents market. All right, Abe, I need to take a breather. I'm getting worn out.
Real quick about what you just said about the expired, like just keep digging and digging and digging for the appointment. That's going to be the hardest appointment to get and the easiest listing to take.
Oh,
because you're the only one that showed up. Everybody else gave up. Right? Everybody else gave up on the first no, and the second no, and the third no. By the time you get to the fourth no and demand that damn appointment, you're there's no competition. So try that on for a little while. So intention. Look, this is big for me. Like you starting your day, you have to start your day with intention. What's your intention for the day? What are you trying to get done? So you either can show up with intention or get lost with distraction. Choice is yours. Every single question that you ask, all open-ended question like Greg was saying, perfect. They have to be intentional. Every single word that you use has to be intentional. Every pause has to be intentional. Every word that you emphasize has to be intentional. That's what gets you to the next level. We can't just be spitting out stuff. Words just can't just spill out of our mouth. There has to be some intention in how you ask, what you say, how you say it. Your listening has to be intentional. What are they saying? What are they not saying? How's their breathing? How's their rate of speech? Is it going faster, slower? Those are the things that you need to be listening for. That's how you are going to spot opportunities to see if there's a break in their shield. If there's a break in their armor, there's actually an opening to set an appointment. And like Greg says, keep peeling the layers back and keep digging deeper and deeper in conversation, looking for some sort of motivation, any hint of motivation. And then finally, when you do spot the slightest hint of motivation, don't just ask for the appointment, demand the appointment. Just get in the door.
Catch your breath. Yeah. That's it. Just get in the door. Yeah. All right, Abe, let's jump right into.
Oh, wait, sorry. One last thing, because I'm getting a lot of questions on that text message. So first of all, we took that one text message. By the way, Greg, I started using that today. I've got my VA sending 50 a day. I already got one lead today on the first 50 I sent. So we've got a text message and an email for your database, for buyer engagement, expireds, old expireds, and FSBOs. So 5 different pillars. We've got a text message and an email for you. It's all in one PDF. All you have to do I'm going to put this in the chat right now as well, is text the word future to 843-632-5864. It's in the chat. Text the word future, just future, nothing else. And then you're going to get a link back to download that PDF. I think it's 5 pages or so of the PDF. At the same time, in that same message you get back, Greg and I do every single week. They will send you either a real estate tip or a motivational quote or something like that. If you text the word tips, TIPS, you'll also get put into that to get those text messages on a daily basis if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So either future to download the PDF, and then tips if you want to get those messages. That's correct.
Yeah. So for those of you that are putting future in the chat, I don't know if you're just doing that just
not in the chat.
Yeah, not in the chat. Not in the chat. You've got to text that number, 843-632-5864. Text future to that number. And then what's going to happen? They're going to get text.
Yeah, they're going to get a reply back that says it's going to have the link. You click on that link, it's going to take you to a Dropbox folder. You could download the PDF.
Okay.
It might prompt you to sign up for Dropbox. You don't have to sign up. Just skip that. Hit the download button. You get the PDF. No questions asked. At the same time, in that message you get back, it's going to ask you if you want to be part of getting those text messages, those tips from us every day. Just reply tips. So if you text back tips, you automatically get put into that pool to get those text messages every day.
Got it. And Abe, are there additional text messages besides that one? Because I know we were going to give them the one for centers of influence, for the database, for the seller, the one that you were talking about.
Yeah. So in this PDF, it's a 5-page PDF. There's a text and an email message for database, expired, buyer, old expired, and FISBO. Just those 5 pillars.
Okay, cool.
One text, one email for each one.
I got a few minutes to get through.
Yeah, you got to go full swoop. You might leave me out of the rest, but
That's
go.
right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go back to, I like to give some takeaway type of thoughts, right? Like, okay, all right, great, Greg. I'm a believer, but I also want not only for you to be a believer in maybe what we present, but I want to make sure that, like, let me tell you what am I physically doing in the office with my agents that is building momentum. So, I can only give so much in a 1 hour webinar, but I want to make sure. So think about expires for a minute. Like, what's your approach today on expires? Now, I'm not going to go through scripting. I do that all in the coaching. There's so much of that, that I have for you all for that. But the thing is, calling them daily, hitting them early, hitting them frequent. Call them daily, call them early, and call them frequently. That's the key here. You got to hit them hard. You got to go after them. You got to go for them. You got to follow up. I put this follow up, like when you call them and they say, you know what, I'm not selling. Stop throwing that expired lead away. Stop. Call them in 3 days. So many of them say they're not selling because that's their script. See, we have scripts in our industry. What a lot of agents don't realize is the consumer has scripts. You actually know you have a consumer script. It's one of the most brilliant scripts a consumer ever used. I could, if we were all together in a room and I was to say something, I know all of you will say the same script. You've never even read a script book on it. Well, I don't think you have. It's, you're in a retail store. Can I help you find something? What are you saying? No, I'm just looking. You see, the consumer has scripts. The salesperson has scripts. Buyers and sellers have scripts. And scripts are just used to help them get through that moment. When they say they're not selling and they're an expired, they're just saying that to get through that moment. Call them back in 3 days when the dust is settled and watch how many say something different. Call them again in 2 weeks and call them again in 4 weeks. So on day 1, call them daily, hit them early, hit them frequently, multiple times, multiple days. They say they're not selling or call them back in 3 days, call them back in 2 weeks, call them back in 4 weeks, because the MLS shows that they go back on the market. You got old expires. Call the 6 old month expires right now. Call them right now. Call the 6-month-old expires right now. They are hot, sizzling hot. Email all old expires that are between 6 and 12 months. Start seeing who's opening up those emails and then who's reading those emails, and call them. But start with 6-month-old right now. They're hot. Start with 6-month-old, work your way backwards. FSBOs, actually call them. Everyone talks about FSBOs. FSBOs are so undercalled. It's amazing how undercalled they are. Most top listing agents don't call FSBOs because most top listing agents, they get spoiled with the speed of converting on expireds, and they neglect FSBOs. If you want to gain market share right now, call those FSBOs, because actually there's very few people calling them, and they're having an issue selling them right now, or they're having an issue selling their own properties. In the strategy, get face-to-face. Conversion happens face-to-face, belly-to-belly with FSBOs, not over the phone. So for those of you who are like waiting to call FSBOs and you're only going to go see them when they tell you, yes, we're ready to talk to an agent, you're not getting FSBO listings. The person who's going to dominate FSBO listings are the people that are willing to go meet them face-to-face, even without the assurance that they're going to list that day. Go tour the FSBOs, get to meet them, build rapport. That's how you convert them. Stop hiding behind tech. And on the database, I kind of touched on it. You build it, you call it, you add value to it, you nurture it, and then you call all the hand raisers. That's as simple as I can put it. You build it, but call it. And when you call it, add value to it. Continue to continue ongoing nurture programs, which is like drip workflows, and then monitor who's opening, who's clicking, and call those people. That's how you work a database. If you've got a database, I would filter your database right now. Anybody in my database that has not been talked to in the last 60 days, that should be outside of your FSBOs and expireds and old expireds. That should be a call list for you right now. Centers of influence, SOI. Centers of influence or sphere of influence. Call them, text them immediately. If you text that number Abe just gave you and you put future, you're going to get the text that we're sending to ours. Same thing with past client. If you text that number and use the word future, you're going to get our text script for that category of client. Hey, look, I am not going to apologize for sharing with you today information that you already know. And I hope you will appreciate the integrity that Abe and I bring to the conversation on not sharing stuff that's not going to work just to entertain you. I do my best to entertain you by telling you the same stuff, not by lying to you. I don't mean any disrespect to anybody else that's selling something different. But I will promise you this. If I was on stage with them and they were selling what they were selling, they would have a hard time selling it. They would probably be embarrassed selling it alongside of me. I know that. You know that. Do what works. And in today's market, you get paid very well. Any last final thoughts, Abe?
Yeah. So, one last thing. Look, you can either control your market or be controlled by the market. The choice is yours, right? Whatever success you get is yours. Whatever result you get is yours. Whatever failure you get is yours. And it's going to be a function of what you choose to do day in and day out. It's that simple. Jump into our coaching program, Agent Success Academy. We promise you'll see results. It's it's ultimately the best investment you could possibly make in your life.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would love to help you build your business. And then there's the number that you can text. It's there again, future. Go out there, get that information, use those texts, see what happens. And everybody, thank you again for sharing your time with us. We hope you found some value and we hope to do business with you in the future. Hey,
Enjoyed it, Greg. Thank you all for
so
coming.
much. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.